2015 World Championship coming to you live from Paris, France. Getting a quick look outside the venue. Beautiful day out there in France. As we speak, though, Europe's Origin is setting up across from the LCK's KT Rolster in a fight to take the lead in Group D. Now, both of these teams have shown very intelligent drafts so far. So what specifically are we looking for going into that pick-ban phase?
I feel to start off, you have to take a look at the fact that Origin is red side. That will leave them with the last pick. And I think that's going to be fundamental to Soa's success in this matchup.
So what we've seen from Origin so far, with Soaz, he's been having the opportunity to get some of these counter picks in, playing that Vladimir. But with KT, the first pick may be pretty instrumental, especially if we don't see a Lulu ban from Origin, which we'll probably see. But KT has flexibility in their bans on the blue side, and Origin has gotten Kalista. And obviously, Niels is very good at this champion. Niels and Mithy are playing around the Fate's Call very well. But I don't think KT leaves that pick up in this particular game. And that's going to force Origin to show something new out of their duo lane.
Not only have I been impressed with Origin's play, but the draft speaks to a lot of research done by their whole staff and the team members, because even though it does have some reactionary picks, the fact that they bait your opponent into picking picks that they haven't shown yet shows that they've done a lot of research. It's a very intelligent way of going about the game, and KT has also done the same thing, and that's why this is probably going to be my game of the day, because of how fun these guys pick. So, like, they don't lose games at the draft, and at first you may think that's kind of wonky, and even Soaz was outspoken about, oh, we never practiced flat top, but we just picked it because we thought it was a good
That's
pick.
such a Soaz thing to say.
Very much so. Very much so.
I love that kind of play because you're able to adapt to any situation that way.
I have to add as well, like I spoke about red side, but on blue side, it gives opportunities to actually counter ban, because you have to ban these strong OP champions like GP, like Lulu, as we talked about. But on blue side, it leaves room to ban the Varus and the Kalista, as you spoke about. And I think that will put Nagne on the Azir.
Well, I think you can be a bit more creative, and some of these picks are showing that they're not so much so must bans. The only one that really appeared to be just completely unmanageable was Gangplank in all these games. Mordekaiser, even in that game that we just saw, TSM LGD, it looked like they were able to deal with it. If they played a bit better, Mordekaiser would have been dealt with effectively.
Now let's move on to the gameplay, where both teams, as you mentioned, have been playing quite well, but KT particularly playing exceptionally clean League of Legends this tournament so far.
Yeah, and that's my takeaway here, is that while Origin has definitely looked strong, they still have had their moments of weakness where Soaz will overcommit to a split push, die by himself. These are openings that if you give them to Someday, he will completely take over a game, and that's the big thing. Fortunately for Origin, they're going to force Someday to blind pick a top laner, most likely, which will be to their advantage, and we'll have to see exactly what Someday wants to play in that particular scenario, because he's got such an immense champion pool. But those kind of mistakes are ones that could absolutely sink Origin. So Soaz is a great player, but sometimes he can get himself killed in awkward situations. He must avoid that in this game.
You know, that being said, Someday is one of the few top laners who has had success blind picking Darius.
Yes.
So, you speak to just the strength of Someday. They might not be too afraid to blind pick that
And
anyway.
Fiora. I think Fiora should be banned this game because he will blind pick the Fiora, and that is going to be something that will be very difficult for Origin to deal with.
All right, well, Crumbs, as you mentioned, it might be game of the day, so it's time to make the call. Who's going to come away with the win in this matchup?
For me, I'm going to go with Origin. I've been impressed with how they've been playing, and I really enjoy seeing these guys go for a lot of aggressive trading that at first you're like, wow, are they really doing that? It's like, oh, well, they did it, and then they capitalize off it afterwards. Mithy has been very aggressive in his playstyle. Niels, even though it's been 2 games of Kalista, he has Vayne as well, which I think he can play to the same level of the Kalista. Huge pick, especially in dealing with any snowballing champion from the top lane.
Monty?
This is one of those games that I really wish I could pick after the draft, because we've been talking about it. I think for all of us, that's the most fun part of this game. And I would have picked KT instead of LGD had I seen the draft, obviously. I'm still going to go with KT here just because I think their execution in terms of play has been cleaner than Origin's. And when we're looking at drafting phases that are very similar, I think they've got an advantage.
All righty. Finally, Yamato.
I have to say that I'm predicting that KT is going to just ban out the Varus, ban out the Kalista, and then just put Nagne on Azir, and that's going to kind of dissect Pekka's champion pool that he has played in this tournament. So I'm going to go with KT.
All right, well, we got people on both sides of the coin. It's time to send it over to Quick Shot, Jat, and Pastry Time to get us into Champion Select.
Thanks, Dash. And as the teams make their final adjustments, let's run down the rosters. On the blue side, the Koreans, KT Rolster. Starting things off in the top lane, it is Someday. In the jungle, Score. In the mid, it is Nagne. Their AD carry, Arrow, support Peekaboo, and coach Oh Chang-jong.
Yeah, and it's going to be such an interesting draft phase between these coaches. On Origin, the red side, we will have Soaz in the top lane with the... I mean, maybe the crowd should just intro these teams. Everyone going crazy for Origin here. Peke mid lane, Niels on AD carry. The Callista has been so critical for him, as well as Mithy, who is their support. That's the biggest thing that I think needs to be denied from Origin.
I cannot believe that Niels has got Callista both times. It was denied from them throughout all of the finals, all the playoffs, in the regional qualifiers as well. Niels is a rock that Origin keep leaning on because he does not crack under the pressure. He does not make many mistakes. And I just want to quickly touch on what the analyst desk said. If Origin do make positional errors, they will be punished because that is exactly how KT Rolster beat TSM. They played safe, they played reserved, and when TSM fell apart and came apart at the seams, that was when KT struck and then pushed through their advantages.
Yeah, and specifically with the Callista as well, it makes Mithy more of a playmaker because he is really the unsung hero, I think, of Origin throughout both of their wins. Peke's 4-man Shockwave, that was actually Mithy tanking a Vi ult. I say that in quotations
Absorbing.
because it should never have been used on him in the first place. Getting Callista and then 4-man ulting to set up the Shockwave. Additionally, his ability to work with Amazing to get deep vision, which sets up all the team fights that Origin has been getting, has been probably the most impressive part of their play.
It is, and it is the crux of their play. Throughout the entire summer split, Soaz has been able to finish games when Amazing and Mithy have been able to set him up to do so. So often we will see lane swap scenarios, and this is one of the teams that will adjust the priority and who will get the farm, who will get the bounce, who will get the wave. Often it has been Soaz, sometimes it is Niels. The draft will be very interesting. And I want to see whether they're going to pull something surprising out. They did a Nivea yesterday to take advantage of TSM's traditional passive play. What do Origin feel they can draft against KT Rolster to try and take advantage of their weaknesses?
And again, both these teams have just shown an incredible amount of promise in this group. I think we look at last match and think, well, this is, the fight to not be last. And unfortunately, that honor, at least for now, goes to LGD. This is the fight to be undefeated in your group now. Origin and KT, some people may have predicted these two teams, but it's been incredibly impressive showings here. And at Origin, if one thing, they certainly have the crowd on their side.
Beyond a shadow of a doubt. And, we talked up Mithy and Amazing so much. I also want to see how Peekaboo's going to impact this game.
Oh, yeah.
Both Peekaboo and Mithy share very similar champion pools, and they both have a tendency to leave their AD carries and impact the rest of the map. So there's going to be a lot of reading one another that could impact the game.
And quick shot, the whole conversation about jungle support synergy actually kind of started with KT Rolster.
Yeah.
Score and Peekaboo, their season turned around when Peekaboo started playing support, mainly due to their synergy together and their ability to take over the game once they were able to get penetration into the opponent's jungle. It's the way they win most of their games, as well as so far this group chat has said Callista was huge for Niels. Kog'Maw has been huge for Arrow.
2 games each. Yesterday, Arrow was a monster on Kog'Maw.
Yep, it certainly was, and this draft is going to be the start to a very interesting game. We are into Champ Select for KT versus Origin, the battle to be undefeated for the first week of Paris.
It has to be Callista, and it is. I mean, there's no surprise there. Peke has not been an Azir player. Nagne's probably, it's my favorite champion in Nagne's hands. I think Origin should get rid of Azir.
Yeah, there's a lot of different things they have to do on the red side, though, especially if they want to be able to deny Gangplank, depending if they want to play against Mordekaiser. That will already eat multiples of their bans. Azir is the first one, though, as you wanted, Quick Shot.
Yeah. Pekka's not good in it. Sorry, Peke.
Yeah,
He
that's fine.
He showed multiple times, and against Febiven in particular, it was a major sore point. In fact, Peke played a large amount of Vladimir into it as somewhat of a counter, or at least a farm lane, and just tried to outscale.
Now the bans are getting kind of tricky. Braum ban by KT Rolster takes out arguably the best support on this patch. We still haven't seen the standard bans. Lulu, Gangplank, Mordekaiser still open. There are 3 bans left.
Yeah.
We'll see where they go.
Lulu had been a standard ban, but it's
That's true.
sneaking through so much. It's banned here, which then leaves Gangplank, Mordekaiser, and if KT Rolster wants to control it, they can guarantee they get 1.
And of course, Gangplank in Soaz's hands is game-changing.
Which would mean it must be, if they don't ban Gangplank, you must expect someday to first pick it.
Yes. And
Well, maybe that's the
Now,
answer.
well, it's because they've decided to board mount. This basically tells me that KT Roaster does not want to play a Mordekaiser strategy. Because either they would have gotten Gangplank or Mordekaiser, but now they're kind of opting into not playing with either one.
And Origin do the expected thing, they ban away the Gangplank Soaz. Very reluctant to let the champion go, of course, but does not want to give it to KT Rolster. Elise, however, will be the first pick. It's been a top pick here, and arguably the best jungle pick so far of Worlds.
The first time we'll see that in Score's hands as well. Amazing has played Elise and Rek'Sai in his previous games. We know he can play Lee Sin as well, but could default to the comfort pick for Origin. Knowing they're on red and knowing they can counter the solo lanes of KT Rolster, I'm expecting a support in jungle. It's the safest.
I think so. It's also locking down their synergy, and most importantly, I think it denies Peekaboo from Thresh. Peekaboo's Thresh is awesome.
Yeah, and a great pick away from Origin as a result, as they do go for support jungle. Very standard stuff on the red side, but Thresh Gragas, a little bit of extra bonus there, taking it away from Peekaboo. We've already talked about these two support players. Both Mithy and Peekaboo make a huge impact on this game.
They really do. And the two picks that Origin have locked in can fit into any team composition. There's literally nothing that you're locked into with either of those. Amazing, again, one of his most played champions throughout the summer split and one of his most successful. But what is Niels going to play this game? Siva is open and available. We've seen some of the LCS teams playing it over the last few days. If they want to go for the utility, if they want to go for a carry, Niels has also played Vayne in the past and hard carried.
Yeah, the thing though is with those two picks, I'm a little surprised that they picked the Gragas so early. Obviously it leaves a lot of options open, but that would have been an opportunity for Niels to play Kog'Maw and deny it from Arrow, because it's almost a certainty that Arrow's going to be picking Kog'Maw on the other side. He does it immediately in this next rotation, and this is actually probably what KT's composition, it fits into their win conditions and their normal play pattern. It has a nice, good mid-game power spike, and then they can try and rush the game down after that point.
Yeah, I don't think KT could have asked for a better start to this draft here. Alistar Cog are their second and third to join in with that Elisa's Peke. Playing with the crowd a bit does flash Draven, which we'll see. But Niels will have to change champions here, so it's at least not going to be Kalista. And I have to say, for how good Niels has been, it's definitely been Soaz and Peke also stepping up to the same level. So the talent across these two teams, with the way they've been playing already on Worlds, Crumb's already called as his game of the day. It's going to be a good one for sure.
And I think the Siva would be the safe bet. Gives you the team fighting power. If you want to put Soaz on a carry, something that can deal damage, you can enable him with Siva. Peke,
Ooh.
old school.
Very old school. And he is going to take it by the looks of things. Twisted Fate going to get through once again. Twisted Fate Siva, Origin's third and fourth.
The last time that Peke even played Twisted Fate was in July. So it's several months ago, right at the beginning of the summer split. It's not a champion that he's played a whole lot.
Yeah,
This split, but historically has played an exceptional.
exactly. At the same time, Peke played in the Season 1 World Championship, and one thing about players that have been around for so long is, especially on legacy picks like Twisted Fate, even if they haven't played it in a long time, you know they've played in metas where Twisted Fate was dominant and had mastered that champion previously.
Yeah, the master of backdoors.
That's true. I did think about
Soaz?
that.
You mean XOS?
Oh!
Okay.
He hasn't picked yet.
The question is, does Nagne run an assassin into TF? You can punish him so hard.
Certainly hope so. Nagne is, I think people call him like the janitor style mid laner, where he likes to clean up from the back end of fights. Be cool to see him on something a little more aggressive here with the Echo, but
Yeah.
KT rounding things out. Looks like it will be Echo and Olaf are going to be the final picks from the Korean
Whoa.
side.
That, I mean, I'm excited to see the Olaf now blind picked. Also excited to see what Soaz has as a counter pick. They've used really aggressive counter picks for Soaz and put him on carries thus far. But honestly, Nagne, a person who typically sits back and tries to split farm and lane, now being on an aggressive assassin where he needs to aggress to shut down Peke, creates a really interesting dynamic in this matchup.
It does. It is something he's done on the odd occasion, but
Yep.
definitely not a traditional thing. The thing that I also want to know about the KT Rolster comp, Alistar, Elise, Echo, Olaf, they all dive forward. If at any point they pick an incorrect team comp or incorrect fight, Peke is going to be able to find Arrow really easily. There's not a lot of protection if KT are starting the fights. So I really want to see their synergy, whether or not Peekaboo is just going to hold Arrow's hands and try and pulverize and headbutt away anybody that tries to get to him.
And now Origin trying to line up their last pick.
Yeah.
I thought the Fiora was just for fun, but it might actually be the pick here for Soaz. We expected it from someday, but it is! Soaz in Paris will play Fiora.
awesome.
And what a crowd for this to happen with.
So obviously a little bit less tankiness on the side of Origin. Triple threat. They're going to have to position and flank well in these team fights, but also KT, while they have a tankier lineup, still have the flank assassination. It's actually, as Quickshot mentioned, a very melee-focused team composition on the side of KT, with the one long-ranged artillery in the back with Kog'Maw. This will make some incredibly interesting fights in this one, because if KT overcommits in one direction, the Twisted Fate could then rain terror onto Arrow. So much of it will be in the start of the team fight and how much KT can get done when they initiate.
And the amount of pressure on both of these jungle and supports to get the correct deep vision down. It's going to be so crucial for Origin to place flanking wards to ensure that Olaf and Echo do not get in on the side lanes and wreck them. I think Origin have a small window of opportunity more because of the Destiny, the fact that that's going to give you vision at any time and allow him to get behind Arrow. But it's going to be pressure. I think Origin, a lot can be made or broken based on those flanks and side lane visions.
Well, we're going to have to find out soon and find out who, in fact, will take first in Group D. So send your predictions over to @LOL Esports with the hashtag OGWin or the hashtag KTWin. We know the crowd is rooting for, but we'd love to know at home who you guys are rooting for as well.
And this is the hype game. I love Group D. Honestly, Group D is just amazingly exciting, but the two 2-0 teams being 3-0 gives you such an upper hand in making out of the group.
Especially after seeing Team Solo Mid just pick up a win. All of a sudden, that #2 spot is going to be what's on the line for whoever loses this game.
And so important in the first half of the Worlds to get things going early. But Soaz now in the top lane with that Fiora as KT and Origin take it to the Rift for their final time, I believe. At least in this part of Worlds.
This week, yeah.
And you
Till
can see
next
KT
Thursday.
hanging out in a brush. Very defensive setup here. Some wards kind of around their blue, perhaps expecting a 5-man for Origin. But right now, just spread pretty evenly across the Rift.
Earlier on at Worlds, we saw so many level 1 kills and fights, but it's really been a bit tame. The game against TSM and LGD, we just saw defensive line wards by both teams and standard lanes even. You would almost expect Origin and KT to do a little bit more lane swapping because that's traditionally what they've been doing here at Worlds. But if they actually are happy with these lane setups and just want to kind of reach the mid game at a normal point, the way they're setting up right now, okay, now it has Arrow roaming up to the top lane, so it looks like we're going to be getting some creativity from KT.
And once again, 4 teleports in game. So something that we'll definitely have to look at the numbers, just how many games mid laners have taken that teleport in conjunction with the flash. We've had debates about the effectiveness and what it offers you in lane, and etc.
Well, to me, the mid lane summoner spells always go on a cycle. You have the really aggressive kill champions being in. When the assassins are big, they're bringing Ignite, and that almost necessitates the use of defensive summoners, like Barrier and Heal. But then sometimes people realize if you're just going to bring a defensive summoner, well, I'm going to take a utility summoner because I'm no longer under kill pressure. And it takes a big commitment of switching your playstyle away from utility to go back to the Ignite. So it's a repeating cycle, and until people are more comfortable playing around Assassins and losing that utility, we're going to continue to see more teleport here at Worlds.
You can see Origin starting up their jungle. Peekaboo has had a look in there, got a ward down, at least has some knowledge, but won't be able to take anything away. Double jungles have been started by both sides, though, and we do have the 80 carries on opposite sides. And you know, they're both going to be fine. They'll get some farm, they'll get some experience. Probably favors Arrow a little more for the early additional thing. But Mithy now also going for a walk.
The mid-game power spike from Arrow is greater than that of Niels. But Mithy looking for an early roam.
Oh, not going to work this time round. Their sentence was just out of range. But we do see Amazing and Soaz still meeting up and holding hands in the jungle. Fairly traditional double jungle start. And already, 3 minutes in, both Peekaboo and Mithy have left their 80 carries alone, relatively safe, trying to get as much information as possible. That red ward not going to give too much info to KT over the next few minutes.
Yeah, and specifically KT has played this lane swap to not do the quick turret trade and dive, because they quickly position their support and jungler underneath the turret as it would meet, and are preventing a 3 or 4 man dive because they got the 3 people there early. So this actually makes an extended laning phase, and I think it's one that Soaz actually is not super favorable on against a Kog'Maw with the range advantage.
It's also interesting to see because OG have traditionally been that team that has gone for the early tower and then the tower dive, the European lane swap, if you will. But Soaz, early teleport up top, gonna take a couple of autos from Arrow, and we did see Amazing just do that full jungle clear. He's now got that blue sentinel secured.
Soaz, we'll really have to see how things develop. Kog'Maw traditionally pretty good here, but Soaz can, you know, smart enough player, has played a lot of different matchups in his time, both competitively and, of course, when just playing in general in solo queue. Peekaboo is going to join up in the top side, though. Arrow is going to have a bit more protection. That is going to force Soaz much further back towards that turret.
Yeah, it means support has to go up top there. Right now, Mithy's actually not doing much down bottom with Niels. Someday can still CS from range with his axes, but because Peekaboo's gone and on the earlier roam, he's not being controlled or matched by Mithy as of now. It's going to be shutting down Soaz a little bit, and the rest of Origin isn't in position to dive Someday for not having his support there. Amazing's on the wrong side of the map, so really nice rotations there by KT.
Yep, no dives happening just now. You can see Mithy starting to zone a little more. Someday showing a lot of respect. Score, though, going to say hi to Amazing in the jungle. He's going to get the Raptor. Just walks up and takes it.
Yeah, right now, KT is absolutely winning this battle. They started much earlier than Origin, and now since they have taken control of that jungle, they are then ahead on the dive timing as well.
Yeah, now here it comes. Soaz smart to back away. He'll be safe, but he might lose the tower in top instead.
Feels like Origin just a few steps behind KT right now. Amazing is going to make it to the bottom lane, but a few seconds late, and it looks like Arrow's going to get that minion wave up to the tower, so we may end up seeing a trade nonetheless.
Yeah, pace is slightly in the advantage of KT as far as the timing of ganks and when the top laner had to leave. But as far as who actually got the first start on the turret, the Sivir was able to shut the lane faster than Kog'Maw, so Origin catches up based on champion pick there.
Yeah, big damage there by Nagne in the mid lane against Pekka. We talked about the Assassin matchups being generally good for the Assassin players against the Twisted Fate Pekka. No ulti just yet, doing just fine in CS for the both of them. Could see some early teleports for those quick Dorans, and then who knows where people are going to go. Pekka just wants to survive in the lane and then move off somewhere else.
Once again, Origin's traditional. It's the side lanes that win them games. Peke is required in the mid to late game, but with the Twisted Fate, he can get involved significantly earlier. And obviously either get Soaz ahead in this unfavorable matchup that was against both Kog'Maw, and then once Olaf gets up there, we could see some very aggressive trading, especially because Soaz has no tower to fall back to.
Yeah, what Soaz is doing right now is classic Soaz, in a sense, because he's always going to be like, I wonder what would happen if I do specifically this thing. He has no turret, no wards in his own jungle. They don't have wards in the opposing jungler, so they have no way of telling where support and jungler are. He should be dead right now, but it may actually end up killing Amazing because there's a sense of security.
Well, 3 members of KT moving to the top lane.
We
can also
it's
see
a 5-man gank.
This is terrible. This is going to be
Mithy.
so bad for Origin. Mithy is in so much trouble. He's been pulverized up in the air. Score is going to chase him down. Cocoon connects, as does the headbutt. They turn their attention to Soaz. He gets caught out. Time Winder will be not enough to kill him. Flash over the wall. Not sure if that was worth. Soaz goes back in, hits the Vital, gets a little bit of sustain. 2 kills to KT Rolster.
That was the result of a longer play. The fact that the wards had already been set up in the jungle of Origin created that really beautiful sidestep, and Core's gonna pay!
Nice juke. Score actually looking to be dead. Does repel away. Now Nagne could be in trouble, but Amazing has to dodge out of the way. Gets comboed up by Peekaboo Peke. Probably can't save him from this point. Does flash out. That might be enough. Arrow still chasing, and Origin will be lucky not to lose 2 more.
KT always has more people where they need to be. If Peke didn't outplay that one, it would have been a disaster, but he actually does manage to force a flash out of Score despite them being caught in a 2v4.
Well, a little awkward there for Origin, and very well played by KT, and I think misplayed perhaps there by Origin in the top lane. Soaz though is going to return, already down 15 CS in that lane, and it's not going to get any easier.
Yeah, specifically to talk about that play, it was a mirrored swap, aside from the fact that KT had the vision down and Origin did not have the vision down. So Soaz took an educated guess that KT wouldn't loop around and go back for the gank, but he had no certainty. That's why it was a risky play, and that's why it was a misplay.
Punished really, really hard for Origin. They need to now scramble. A couple 100 gold down. Luckily, Niels has been left uncontested, so he's actually built himself up a 20 CS advantage. And the BF sword into Sheen will also give some favorable fights if Mithy can find those death sentences. But, and obviously will dwindle the longer this game goes.
I feel like a lot of Origin's success has been strong team fighting. Certainly the side lanes are looking good so far. Soaz maybe not so much, but he's pretty comfortable right now in the top lane, all alone with that wave. Someday's actually gone for a walk here. Looks like KT might be setting themselves up for a dragon. Amazing in the area though to try and get vision back and prevent that play. As Peke does teleport back to mid lane.
Yeah, Peke's got a nice little cushion in the mid lane right there.
Straight stuns? Peke now going to get driven out. Amazing, actually, looking for the follow. Score repels up again. Peke trying to get it, but a good stun comes out. Peke will get the first kill. Now Nagne going to get chased. Mitty, flash play there as Nagne's forced him. Real get out there as Peke going to keep diving forward. Looks for the stun. Finds it on Nagne. Ultimate out. Huge full man, but Mitty collects it.
What an amazing outplay by Pekka right there. He pulled the red card on the timing in which Score would be descending and threw it at Nagne, and that's what killed Score with the AoE. Then he translated that on to the rest of the play, and this opens up a big window for Origin to take Dragon. Such a good Twisted Fate play.
What'd you say about old champion mastery there for Peke? Certainly showing it there.
He's gonna have it. Oh my God.
If there's one thing that Peke has consistently done is show up at the World Championships. Another game, another strong play, and this time early on to counterbalance giving up those early kills. 2 assists for both Amazing and Niels. And of course, Peke picking up a kill and assist. Niels, do not face check.
Oh, Peekaboo face! Just flashes onto him with the pulverized exhaust is down. Niels burns everything to try and stay alive, but he'll get tower dived and Arrow gets the kill.
It's not over yet. Mithy gets caught by the cocoon and tower dive. KT say we want 2 more, and they put it in Arrow's hands.
And 3 kills on Arrow is devastating. So while Origin is getting their advantages with outplays, KT is just winning through strategic mastery right here. Origin's wards are lacking. KT has sufficiently better jungle control. They get all the way around, which easily sets up Peekaboo the confidence to not flash pulverize. He pulverized flashed out of the brush, so there was literally no possible way for Niels to spell shield that without vision. Gets the double kill because they had the people for the dive after the fact.
And gonna be a dragon now for KT. Is Peekaboo actually the one to collect it? Dragon number 1 for this game does go over to the Koreans. And looking good so far. Gold fairly even, but you can see that first dragon could start to stack up here. It's Amazing. Checking very aggressively into KT's jungle, going to try and steal these wolves.
Yeah, quite confident that dragon was going down. At least get the wolf spirit, but take a look at the top lane. 4 members of Origin in this sort of northwest quadrant of the map. Gonna set up either for a tower dive or happily just for the tower itself.
Yeah, they're trying to match what KT just did, except this one is much more telegraphed because you can see the vision control from KT is higher. So instead of it being a double kill, it may just be some turret pressure.
They get the tower at least. But every time you look at the minimap, it's just KT have littered. Everywhere on the map where they're focusing their attention is littered with wards. And Origin are simply not replying yet. They will get a few deep wards down in the blue buff area, but the tower's fallen, the blue buff secured, so there's not a lot of reason to stick around.
The impressive thing about this is, even before that turret went down, Origin had a gold lead, despite all of this, because Peke is so heavily out farming Nagne, and the wave clear from Niels is giving him a nice CS advantage on Arrow, even though the gold is down on him because of the 3 kills. But 3 kills to 2 assists, and it's an 80 gold lead amongst your 80 carries. Origin is really outplaying KT on individual levels, whereas KT is they're sacrificing some individual things for team advantages and executing on those team advantages. It's a really well-played game.
Certainly is here, and we'll see which style does prevail as you move further through this game. So the average first dragon time's actually pretty long there for KT, at least so far in the group stage. But KT did get a nice early one there, so that'll bring the average down just a bit.
Significantly lower. It's a little early to start talking about 20-minute gold leads, but Origin have actually been a team that don't play very well from behind. In the 14 games they've been behind at 20, they've only won 4 of them.
Yeah, and that's in the European
That's in the European LCS Summer Split. So as a team, these next 8 minutes are going to be crucial for Origin because at least from the last few times we saw them, they did not play very well from behind. There has been a full boot camp. They have gone to Korea, so that can of course, have changed. But let's see what KT can do, because at 20 minutes in World Championships, they average 3,500 gold lead.
Right now, it's just a lot of split pushing for both teams here. Arrow getting stronger and stronger, almost up to that Trinity Force. Mithy and Niels poking around, trying to see if they can investigate this vision, but Peekaboo very valiantly defending that ward. They'll actually go back in. Peekaboo pops his ulti. Mithy caught out of position, but Peke gonna try and make his way in. Mithy still alive. Now Sunday gonna chase him, but Nagne's here as well. The flay's not enough to keep him alive, and Niels gonna get himself chased down as Sunday's gonna clean him up.
Double teleports expended by KT there to get the 2 kills. This is actually, yes, they pick up the 2 kills, but it's more about how Origin answers this, since a 5-man investment in the bottom lane is huge.
Really, really is. There will be a lot of damage on this mid-outer turret, but nothing further is gained. So Origin now have a 2 teleport advantage for the next few minutes. They have a tower to knock down in the middle lane, but nothing in top and bottom. So even if they want to get more with their TPs, they have to go incredibly deep into KT's territory.
I don't want to understate how impressive that play actually was by KT because they had the vision control to teleport onto the wards within the jungle, and it's an extension of their playstyle. But now Origin is trying to match this with teleports from SOAS. He gets a little bit low early.
Well, let's take a look. Grand Challenge is there. Gold card connects, and here's the heal. SOAS will replenish all of the damage he's taken. Peekaboo gets caught by the gold card. He does not have access to that unstoppable will. Gonna get run down. No more mana for Peke. Mythy gonna swing for the death sentence. He missed the flay. He finds the death sentence. SOAS low on mana as well. The cocoon connects onto SOAS as Nagne is trying to chase him down. There's no more support from KT, and OG get 2 of their own.
2 for 2. You burn both teleports, you get 2 kills. You burn 2 teleports on the other side, you also get 2 kills. They get the turn on top of it, so Origin swinging back really well in this match.
Yeah, you can see the gold lead starting to creep up a little bit there as Origin are 2,000 gold ahead now. You mentioned the 20-minute mark being very important for this team, so we'll track if they can get it any further than that. Dragon up and back up, sorry, in a minute 45. But the first items are starting to come out now for both sides as well. Olaf getting tankier. Morello Nomicon completed for Nagne. A Trinity Force done for Arrow. Niels has something in the bank, I'm sure. But we look at the big carries for Origin. Lichbane done first in the mid lane for Peke, and Hydra already done for SOAS.
Yeah, big time Hydra for SOAS, big time Lichbane for Peke, but I'd say almost an even bigger Trinity Force for Arrow. He is going to be huge right now. Someday as well, against the fairly CC heavy Twisted Fate and Thresh, may end up being a big problem come these team fights since he's picked up the 2 kills and can run straight at Peke's Twisted Fate.
Well, Peke is going to at least get some damage on the inner turret. He's got the support of Mythy. Mythy's going to need to land those flays in future. Arrow will secure the second tower for KT down in the bottom lane.
And that's going to move that gold lead much closer back to even now, only 1,500 up for Origin or so. As we do wait around for that next dragon. I like the pressure that Peke is applying to the Origin, trying to be proactive, make sure KT can't get a second dragon, but we'll clear out some vision here. KT, though, they will be ready when the objective rolls around.
Peke actually has 1,800 more gold than Nagne here. Massive advantage. We saw Bjergsen also get a tremendous lead onto Nagne. It could be a big red flag for KT as they move towards more of Worlds. Nagne is losing lane by massive margins, and people always say he's great in team fights afterwards, but it is always a hole that KT has to make up for in those team fights.
Well, we'll see if they can, because not only does Nagne have to make up for it, he's on a champion playing a style that's not necessarily associated with him. We didn't see any of the lane pressure from that Echo onto Twisted Fate, because all the action was happening elsewhere. And with Dragon spawning shortly, again, look at KT. They've got some wards in the river, at least 1 ward near the blue buff of Origin. Luckily for Origin, they have control of the Scuttle Crab.
It doesn't look like Origin is willing to play KT's game of just grouping up at the Dragon when Kog'Maw is sitting on his Trinity Force Power Spike. They were rather doing the split push game very early, 1-3-1. Classic, like, Season 2/3 Fnatic is how they're playing right now with the Twisted Fate and a split pushing SOAS.
And we might even have a dive here. Mythy looking around. SOAS, though, just slapping the tower. Someday trying to get him off. Does eventually move him away. But Amazing's also here as well. Good collapse from Origin as Peke pokes around. Now sees the dragon, actually.
And KT has actually been dictated to with that play. Look at all the wards they placed towards the dragon area, and then they completely abandoned their ward zone. So the instant KT moved out of that, they lost all of their pressure. It actually meant Origin could go and kill the pink ward. And because they're running KT around, they end up actually getting the dragon.
Exceptional. After 15 minutes, Origin now find the reins and take control of the game. They expended their double teleports to reply to what KT did, and obviously are now making the strategic decisions. We're getting closer to that 20-minute mark, and Origin are even in position to defend this mid-outer turrets.
Yeah, and KT is looking for that window where they can take over the game. They've had very close early games so far in this group, but they usually find a pick somewhere and then take 2 or 3 turrets, and then the game is over. They're trying to do that in the mid lane right now. Peke is split pushing, so Origin is trying to hold off.
Yeah, Amazing actually used his ulti just to disengage KT off the tower and keep it up for a bit longer. Peke bottom line, Lichbane starting to do some work, but Someday just popped the ulti. Peke has to get out. Someday can't cancel this. Peke leaves effortlessly.
Woo. Destiny's not even the longest of cooldowns. 1.5 minutes at rank 11 with his current CDR build, so not even going to be too painful, but you can see very clearly the strategy Origin are committing to. They want Fiora and Twisted Fate pushing the side lanes and leaving Niels and Amazing to wave clear.
And Jack brought it up already. If you're going to have double TP in your solo laners as a metagame, I feel like Peke and SOAS started this before it was cool.
They're real happy with this. They're real comfortable in the double TP game. All the way back Season 1 or Season 3 World Championship. Peke and SOAS obviously weren't on the same team during the Season 1 World Championship, but honestly, KT's continue to hammer this mid lane looking for a play. Peke's actually a little low.
Oh, Peke's dead! Cocoon connects as well, and Score sinks the fangs in. Amazing! Body slams forwards, yells nope, and flashes away. Parallel Convergence has gone to the wrong direction, but Nagne may still find Amazing. There is some slow from the barrel. Soaz was able to get a tower though, so they traded a kill for a tower. Grand Challenge is not going to be able to heal Soaz, and Amazing will get dropped as Score grabs another.
That's that near 20-minute explosion the KT is waiting for. They play the mid lane game, they get the dive, and then on the other side of the map, Someday just outstats Soaz. He's like, do you know who Olaf is, bro? He just, nothing Soaz could do in that 1v1.
And we're pretty much back to even now. We talked about Origin's leads being important, but game is practically the same as far as gold goes now. Niels and Mithy will get themselves a Scudder Crab, and Niels is actually starting to pump out damage as well.
This is going to set us up for a very exciting mid-game phase with both teams having teleports, both teams having their sort of primary carries enabled to a degree. It will come down to the vision and the decision-making around your objectives. Peke, risky being that low.
Yeah, they should have been forfeiting that turret. You could tell they were halfway between a decision, and they ended up getting caught for it. Then Amazing bailed out. Maybe he thought he had allies coming, but that's as close to a misclick as you'd like to give a player credit for, because there's no reason to body slam in.
There's still a Lantern hanging out there by Mithy as well, and Amazing's like, nope, gotta go the other way.
Oh, so as, again, the ward control has been dominated by KT.
It really has. He's just going to get run down. 3 members of KT chasing him down. Teleport is up, but I don't think Soaz will waste it. Is going to riposte the Cocoon before he gets sunk down. 4-0-1 on an Olaf. That's scary.
And despite being a favorite, so as we have seen this play pattern from him before, Origin gonna have to execute a little more cleanly on the split push if that's what they want to be doing. KT starting to find picks, starting to get more gold, and if they ever find a big explosion fight, KT can take over.
This is what cost TSM their lead against KT Rolster, being out of position, being too deep, not respecting the vision. This is exactly what the analyst desk had talked about. Origin as a team make these mistakes, and Soaz as a player is very greedy in those side lanes. He's done it multiple times against players like Hooney in the European LCS, and he's doing it now against Someday.
Yeah, and I do have to point out the Rod of Ages on Peke. It's a very non-standard item on Twisted Fate. I'm guessing he's using it for a little bit of extra durability, since Someday will be running straight at him, does true damage in a lot of his damage, so Peke won't be able to get resist to stop that. I honestly expected a Zhonya's with his next item, because that's more of the thing you would use if you're going into the back of a team fight. But maybe he just doesn't expect his ability to actually dodge the CC with Zhonya's. He just wants to tank it up.
I mean, probably the next item is he does go back and get himself a Need to See Large Rod. Someday will get spotted, but he's rather tanky at this point of the game. Black Cleaver and then possibly Frozen Mallet? No, not too sure, but could do just about anything there. Got plenty of health at least built up early.
4-1 at 4-0 at this point, so Frozen Mallet wouldn't be the worst. A lot of different directions you can go on.
Sterex, Deadman's, a lot of ingredients that
Sterex
could be...
is
Sterex was
probably the
My
worst.
guess is Sterex, but we'll see. Niels, don't make the same mistake. He's got the support of Mithy, but Someday not going to look for an engage. And the pace of the game has slowed down. Again, all of the outer turrets being down. No real deep vision from either team. Defensive wards in the bottom half of the map from KT. So no aggressive posturing. And it feels like we're just waiting for this next dragon.
I would have swapped it up as well, moving Soaz to his Arrow's side lane now, instead of up against Sunday's Olaf. Peke still holding the fort in the mid lane here. Does have the blue buff and able to wave clear nicely, but Nagne also second item, Abyssal Scepter actually for a nice cost-efficient little build, and Score does get the crab.
He'll be able to provide a lot of threat in teamfights with that pretty low-cost build. And I think the reason the game is slowed down right now is the 1-3-1 has been completely contained by Origin.
Oh my Origin!
Oh, ladies and gentlemen, here's a European special. Origin on a 22.5-minute Baron. They're rushing it
Someday
down.
has home guard.
Here
so
comes
he'll be able to
Someday.
He's going in for it. Can he maybe get the steal? He's going to try and do something here. Origin, Score! He's going to look for it. Gets altered up by Gragas. Can't move into the pit. Now Peke going to get vision. He needs to leave. He hits a Cocoon. Gets knocked down by Nagne. No, he can't chase it. The flash has come out.
Peekaboo saved him, pushed him over the wall. Origin get Baron, and they get away, igniting the fans in Paris.
That is a European special there, Not Crep.
I'll go with Creppa. I'll take it.
Because specifically, right as the dragon is going to be taken there, no KT. It's so clever to play on KT's tendencies in that specific way. They know their dragon is going to be littered with wards. KT is just like, all right, this is how we win the game. We do the dragon, we just wait for it. But they absolutely counter it. They get the teleport, they burn down the Baron, and then Peekaboo whiffs on his headbutt combo. The slowdown on the speed of that headbutt pulverize, Peekaboo did not time it properly.
When you are at the World Championships, you need to make big, brave plays. Origen showed that they can read KT Rolster, and they make the perfectly executed Baron call.
The crazy thing is, actually, Arrow was so far behind, Origen probably could have won this fight. But they were expecting a full collapse down, so they decided to run beautiful cocoon from score.
Opa.
And a whoopsie. Easy escape for Peke. Easiest escape of
Yeah, totally calculated there from the mid lane up. As they do actually move down. I mean, getting Baron's nice, but what can they do with it? That's the next big question. KT have shown plenty of strength and resilience here in this game already, but now a big moment for Origen. They can make huge leaps and bounds with this Baron buff. And look in the bottom lane, but haven't struck down any structures just yet.
And it's interesting because Origen as a team are not traditionally ones that go for those really early, really intelligent Barons. It's actually H2K and Fnatic that have built up a tendency. We'll talk about that in a second. As Amazing has found Someday.
They're trying to fight, but Someday's super low. He's got no ulti. Nails, gonna pop a secret spots. Becky gonna dive in onto Nagna, but the chrono breaks out. Just gonna get himself killed. Origen find the pick.
Yeah, that's a large amount of the wave clear from KT now out of the fight, and they might continue. They're just using the end of the Twisted Fate ultimate to see right there. This is at least one turret.
They will get themselves one, and there's Baron-empowered minions being pushed into the top lane by Soaz as well. He does not have teleport if anything were to break out, but look at KT. They're scattered. They're late. They've lost an inhibitor turret.
Nagna is dead, can't clear with that go. Arrow doesn't want to go alone, and Someday was too low to throw access at the wave. They had no wave clear to stop those turrets. They're getting a ton of gold right here off this Baron.
Pings down the bottom as well. Peke is gonna run down here. See, Twisted Fate does so much damage to turrets. Peke gonna do a good job taking this out. Niels, he's hanging out in mid lane, just doing it on his own. Gonna go in onto score. First crit's good. Spell shield's not quite there, but he does get pulled away to safety.
Gets a lot of damage onto the inhibitor, and Origen now have a 3,000 gold lead. Baron's still a couple seconds before timing out, but what a great play. Origen need to get deep vision down, and they need to rinse and repeat to get these lost outer turrets down.
Yeah, there were several weeks of intense preparation going into each one of these team matchups. And you said, Quick Shot, that Origen wasn't that team to kind of do the really aggressive early 20-minute Baron calls. But specifically against KT, it just feels like something that was prepared. The way Origen has been drafting throughout this entire group stage, meticulous team compositions to attack team specific tendencies and weaknesses. And this was actually a play designed to punish KT's strength, which was vision control in the Dragon area on repetitive fights. It's awesome.
And they're executing excellently on top of it as well. Origen do find themselves with a nice lead. It's not massive, but it'll have to do. The Baron's one off and will reset for the next few objectives. Origen, though, have carved themselves up a nice spot to fight if they want it. So it's a matter of can they continue the momentum they've built.
And the thing is, we're still early enough in the game that even though that inhibitor is exposed, it is still incredibly risky to go for it. So yes, despite the advantage being with Origen after that Baron power play, it's going to be very difficult to continue capitalizing on. KT have repeatedly shown this game they can make strategic calls to slow down, shut down, and stop Origen's pushes. And that's what they're going to need to rely on. It's interesting to see some of the itemization that Sterex was completed by Sunday's Olaf, but a dead man's place on Score's Elise.
Yeah, well, he can slow once he repels down on him, and he catches Peke with the extra move speed.
And just dead again. Peekaboo's got a nice, really big target on Peke's head, apparently, because that's twice now that he's been caught out by the Alistar. Didn't miss that
huge.
combo.
KT gets so many picks, and it generates so many plays for them. The entirety of Origen's advantage is actually off that Baron power play, and KT's fighting right back. Both these teams just throwing haymakers at each other.
Now KT gonna look to try and push down the same turret Origen have already got to line things up. Arrow nice and aggressive on the front line. Decent ulti back. Peekaboo's sort of caught out, but Nagne has to phase dive out of the way. And no fight just yet. Origen will defend.
12 seconds now on Peke's ultimate, so it will not give them an inhibitor turret. It was a nice pick, but it gives them one turret and the gold for that. They actually don't even get too much vision control off of that play either. They have some nice wards towards the mid lane, but if Origen stretches towards their jungle, they go back into fog.
Maybe it is a little too early to mention it, but Soaz has already tried to backdoor Nexus once in the group stages here at Worlds. There was a ward a few moments ago in the exposed inhibitor from KT, and with 2 teleports and Destiny, if Origin see another opportunity, some breathing room, some space, they could make a play on one of those objectives. But look, a minute 20 for Dragon, a minute 20 for Baron.
We know what happened last time.
Yeah, at this point in the game, though, Arrow and Someday are also ridiculously strong. If they can ever run free in these team fights, so basically if Arrow isn't instantly gold carded by Peke early in a fight, he can shred any of the tanks on Origin, because Origin's mostly running a tankless team. Amazing with a dead man's plate, not that tanky of a dude. On top of that, that's all they have. I was going to say
that's it.
Yeah, that's it.
It doesn't go anywhere after
Everyone
that.
else is squishy.
The thing is, Mithy should be getting towards that Zeke's in a few moments as well. But if you look on the bottom, Amazing has found Peekaboo, and some days on Soaz.
Yeah, another fight, but Someday wins again. These duels, funnily enough, not going to the duelist, as Peke might have found a catch. Arrow could be the one they get. They'll nail it. There's so many stuns to send to Bunkogmore.
There really is. Now they turn their attention to score. Where is Someday? He's already used his Ghost and Ragnarok. With Dragon up in 20, Origin may be happy with the 1-for-1 trade if they can get more objectives.
Yeah, we call it a trade, but it was actually just 2 plays made separate from each other. Origin capitalizes knowing that the Olaf isn't there and just goes all in on Arrow since the damage threats are dead. And so it just loses another duel to Someday. Someday is carrying his heart up this game.
To see if Someday can get KT back into the game. Dragon has been started. Nobody from KT is around to challenge this one, but they are maybe trying to clear some vision, at least set up some vision around Baron to prevent the double Baron Dragon play.
Seen this play before, but it's KT this time that find themselves around the Baron. So it's going to go back to bottom lane. Does have his TP, so can make a play and move into the Baron if a fight breaks out. Origin can also just try and shove up mid. Mithy and Niels are already there.
Yeah, it's an exposed inhibitor, so KT actually has to respect this. One thing that Origin is doing pretty well to get around KT's spectacular vision control is the fact that they know where the vision is superior for KT, and they're trying to draw them away from that point again and again. Obviously, Origin is still getting pretty heavily punished by KT's amazing ability to find picks, as we can see by the large kill lead that KT has. It's just a great game to watch.
Next big mistake can determine the entire outcome of this match. Score will find a cocoon on Amazing. Peekaboo's decided to go in. There is support, but the Death Sentence hits.
Yeah, they are going to look for Peke around the side. He wants to flank. Great ult there by Amazing. And now Peke strikes. Looks for Nagne. Poured in from Soaz. But Sunday's coming as well. Score is crazy low. It'll get knocked off. Soaz will challenge Nagne, but Amazing's getting shredded. Arrow up to the sides, firing. And it's just one kill on Peekaboo. Hook barely connects.
Nagne and Score are so low, but the Destiny's being channeled by Peke. Where will he go? Holds on to the cooldown. Soaz gets into the fight and gets a kill.
And Amazing's forced back, but it will be back relatively shortly. OG have a small window here with a 5v4 with Peekaboo dead and Score running back up from the base to try and make something happen.
Really tense moment in the game right now.
Oh, just got Arrow!
What is he doing out there?
Nails got it, now Nails going back in, gets a grid onto Nagne. What is so near? Pops a spell shield and just collects it anyway.
That has to be Inhibitor and then Baron for Origin. A massive misplay from KT.
Something that is so out of character. You just don't expect them to make that mistake this late in the game. But Origin, the stage, everything can contribute to people making mistakes. It's the human element of League of Legends, and Origin capitalizes.
Yep, they'll get the mid inhib. Niels been so good already. We've seen him on Kalista. We thought his Sivir was going to be good. Can confirm, still pretty good here on the world stage.
What great positioning from Origin. They find themselves an opportunity. Peke narrowly dodged that undertow. We'll have some support, but no Baron from Origin. Let me take that back. They have started it. Yep. Teleports not available, and this should be secured safely.
Safe secure from Origin. We'll have to see what encouraged Arrow to walk so close to the brush, because that was just disastrous in a game-turning event for Origin. They have had heavily superior objective control to KT, which is such a feat considering they have been consistently losing the vision battle. Right now, though, is a time in the game where they finally have superiority in that regard.
So we'll have a bit of a breather now as the teams go back and reset. But Origin, after that Baron, are going to look to quite possibly finish off this game. They're 7,000 gold ahead now to watch this again.
Yeah, we catch the tail end of that one, but there was just a smattering of wards there from Origin, and he walked into a ward that was pink ward, a brush that was pink warded. Niels then goes to finish off Nagne. Routine.
Zeke's Harbinger for Mithy. If Niels wasn't dealing enough damage already, going to be amplifying that opportunity. And
Yeah, and the item thresholds that Origin have hit are massive right now. The 4 items plus Zeke's Harbinger means the Sivir actually, if he was to duel the Kog'Maw and get in the range, would win the trade because he's critting all of his attacks for about 1,000 damage and he just 2-shot Arrow. Additionally, Peke can also kill Arrow with 2 shots. That much AP with a stacked deck, gold card, and wild cards is about 2,000 plus damage.
Well, no Mordekaiser this time, but Twisted Fate will do a lot of damage if you can get on top of the key targets. Origin trying to close the game out. Peke in towards the top side, rest of Origin down the bottom.
yeah, going to once again play all 3 lanes. If that's one thing we have learned from this game, Origin has stuck their carries on every individual lane, the entirety of it. We did see a Cocoon almost connect on Niels, but he's playing it very safe.
I think it's pretty safe to say that KT has been playing the jungles and Origin has been playing the lanes.
I agree with that, Jat.
And that's been impressive. And that's another different strategy from Origin as the French crowd really starting to heat up here.
Well, French crowd has been off their feet quite literally. 35 minutes in Origin, once again,
How can you do a wave at a time like
7,000
this?
gold.
It's too important. They're pushing the base.
Sorry, I'm watching the picture-in-picture, but look at that, they've caught Someday!
Could be trouble, but he pops the ulti. That's a big cooldown. KT have to expand. Soa's going nuts. Pops straight into the back line, and OG are going to break the bottom half of the base.
They're going to get themselves onto the inhibitor while Peke is dueling 1v1 with Nagne. Super minions, once again, going to be pouring into the base from a second lane this time around, and Origin move themselves out safely. There's a Baron-empowered wave up top, and it looks like Origin want to go for clean.
3-inhib sweep right here. There's no ultimate on Someday, so he can't storm in. That one hook from Mithy is so critical right now. I think Origin can actually just walk in and take the 3rd inhib.
Starting to run out of chances here for KT. Spell shield there from Niels. We'll try and dodge the Cocoon. Soaz, we're going to close the trap. This is so dangerous for KT Rollstop.
It really, really is. The more time they spend trying to defend that top inhib, the longer the Nexus turret threats.
Sumday's Ragnarok is up now, so if they wanted to stop it, they'd have to go, but he's on the other side of the map dealing with Soaz. Origin just splitting KT open.
And look at that gold card onto Peekaboo. He's already used the Unbreakable Will. Nagne's gone in, forced back out with that Chrono Break. We do see Origin supers in 3 lanes. Will they back out and play it safe? The answer seems to be yes. They've accrued a lot of gold, over 1,500 on multiple members. And with supers in 3 lanes, it is just a patience game. Work with the map, work with the minions, and then take down those last turrets.
Yep, Dragon even coming back up soon as well. Origin can take a 4th and threaten the 5th if they need it to try and close out this game. At this point, it is Origin's game to lose. They have every bit of the map under control.
This has been a thrilling game, I have to say, and Peke has played out of his mind. Twisted Fate is an excellent champion to pick a snowball when you're against Nagne, who has never been able to pressure his lane so far at World. And even on an Assassin, Peke had total lane dominance on Twisted Fate through that. And the most impressive thing here is KT was playing to so many of their strengths, continually getting picks again and again in the jungle, and they would get advantages for it, but every time KT got an advantage, Origin would answer back in turn.
Yep, rock, paper, scissors. It's just been going in a loop that eventually ended in a very giant rock, crushing KT's chances. If and when Origin close this out, they will be 3-0 in the group stages.
You can hear that crowd really amped up for one of their favorite teams and their favorite players. Souls has gotten so much love. You can see OG. Nice little power play there on the Baron. Not massive, but at this point, you don't need much more than that.
They were taking down inhibitor defending turrets, which don't actually give that much gold. So really critical moves. They got the inhibs out. That I think that's the true value here. Now 3 waves of super minions, split up team from Origin. Basically, we just need to track Someday's Ghost and Ragnarok, because that seems to be the thing that would make a difference in this fight. I think Arrow is basically dead because Peke can ult him, unless Someday somehow stops Peke.
Well, mid inhib does come back up as well, but Origin just going to knock it down about as quickly. KT really don't have any time left here. If they're going to go, they pretty much have to go now.
Look at the supers on the mini-map. They're about to hit those Nexus turrets. Neil's taken a couple of pokes from Living Artillery, and Origin have split up their forces. They're not running the risk of getting grouped up by Undertow or by that Pulverizer Peekaboo. Chipping away, that inhib will fall shortly.
No need to get impatient here for Origin. Have all the time in the world.
Maybe Peekaboo can get some type of Pulverize on a Peke. They're just looking for the opportunity, and Origin needs to make sure not to over-aggress. The minions will do the work for them, supers will draw threats away, and then they can take the inhibitor.
Be one last stand here for KT. Niels, another great spell shield. Just goes in for the turret. Now Nagne diving in. Forced to instantly Chrono Breaker's score. He'll have to repel out as well. Mithy zones him out. Peekaboo caught. Eats a hook. Massive pulverize there, but they're just going to peel away. Peekaboo's dead.
He's definitely dead, and will get the heal as well. 5v4. There's minions onto the Nexus turrets. Origin pushing in with the numbers advantage. The Nexus turrets both below half HP. The final stand from KT. I don't think it will be enough. Niels is hammering away on Someday. He's got 2,000 hit points left.
And now Night diving back in. He's desperate for a play. Someone's going to rip him to pieces, though. Damage out. Huge hook from Mithy. Becky flashes in. He wants it, but they'll get one turret.
They will. They'll set their sights on the next, and Origin are onto the Nexus. Origin will place first in Group D after taking down KT Rolster.
And with the crowd behind them, Origin go undefeated. And just hear that crowd roar for some of their hometown favorites. SOES on Fiora in France. Started as a joke and it ends with an undefeated start to Worlds.
Halfway through the group, Origin stands on top. The question will be whether they can maintain this through, because this was not expected. Against LGD, huge favorites LGD was against Origin. They win the team fights later, they take them down. Against TSM, EU versus NA, okay, that was fine. But now to take down the other 2-0 team by specifically punishing KT for their own strengths shows the versatility as well as strength of this Origin team.
Origin are showing they have the individual plays and player skill to match the best in their group. They're also showing an understanding of the strategic decision-making their opponents make. Punishing TSM's slow start, punishing KT's preference and penchant to focus around objectives. And they're showing they're prepared. When you look at Origin, despite some mistakes in positioning, despite maybe some over-eager lane pushing, there are very few things that we can look at to say there are glaring weaknesses and massive smiles on the faces of all the players.
Their preparation has been exquisite.
Yeah.
And Niels, who we saw right at the end on our screen, has played really well. Like, this is a team that obviously they have a lot of experienced players, but it was a challenger team in the spring.
Yeah.
And even after they won challenger, most people were like, yeah, maybe they're not going to be that good.
I didn't think so.
Then they ended up doing extremely well, took Fnatic to 5 games, which most people attributed to Fnatic underperforming. Maybe they were just two really good teams playing against each other in the final.
It looks like it. I've been spending too much time with Doa because seeing SOES playing Fiora in France, I was thinking to myself, if hypothetically he were to have a skin, it would have to be a baguette.
Yeah.
Sorry. I just, on the shot, SOES is standing waving to the crowd and there's some guys holding baguettes in the air. I gotta do it.
And I have to
What
say,
a great performance.
Excellent game there from both teams, but Origin come out on top. And for, all the questions in Challenger, then through, the finals now in summer, Origin, great players across the board, and that's been the thing for me. Origin are winning as a team, individually very strong, but the world's buff on Peke really showing up in these first 3 games.
The level at which the European and North American teams have shown up in the first week of the group stage exceeded pretty much anyone's expectations. I'd almost say it's defying expectations. Yep. China has been the weakest major region at Worlds by far, if we look at the records. Europe and North America are winning a large amount of their games, and it's right competitive with Korea. Obviously, it's strange because we have EDG and SKT, probably the 2 strongest teams in the same group, not playing the heavy hitters from the other regions, but this is just going to make the rest of Worlds so fascinating to me.
Yeah, you can't deny that. You can see Mithy getting set up with Sharks for an interview shortly, but for Origin, as well as the European fan base and support, it's great to see how much of a real deal they are. Coming into the World Championship, everybody ranked Origin as the 2nd strongest team despite having the 3rd seed. Drawn into the group of death, and they come out of the first week looking fantastic. Great play, great prep. There is still room to improve. There are still mistakes that can be punished, that can be exploited. Maybe teams like SKT and EDG won't make the same mistake around Baron. Maybe they will punish those misplays even harder, and that's what we're going to have to find out if Origin can qualify for the playoffs.
And one thing I've seen at this World Championship is how heavily the true mistakes are actually punished. Arrow checking that brush that had a pink ward in it ended the game effectively for KT, because after that it was just execution for Origin. Most games used to be decided on those types of mistakes, but so much at Worlds here has been about the strategy of teams outthinking each other and taking the minor misplays and turning them into advantages. It's really cool to watch.
And on the other side as well for KT, like, yes, those mistakes cost them the game. Origin had some very creative ways to sort of get themselves into the game, get the lead, and then close it out. But KT played very clean. Like, when you're making little mistakes and that's what's costing you the game, that's pretty impressive.
Yeah.
Well, we'll have to see now. I was going to send it down to Shox for looking at Origin's perfect week 1.
Thank you. I was just fixing Mithy's in-ear because the crowd is loud.
This is gonna fall.
It's always with you and the in-ear.
This is gonna fall for sure.
Let's blame it on the excitement. Well, yes. Fantastic cheers here for both SOAS and Mithy. Fantastic victory, so congratulations on that. Yet, when you guys stepped on the stage here, you were still discussing some of the phases of the game, because am I fair in assuming that you guys didn't have your best game? SOAS especially up against Someday, it was pretty rough. Tell me how you lived the game and how you came back from that. He's gonna explain.
No, it was a lane swap, and they ended up pushing the top turret, the tier 1, and they had a freeze on it. Kog'Maw went base, and they were waiting for Kog'Maw to come back, and we knew that they were waiting in our jungle, but we didn't expect them to go on Mithy. We expected to go on me and Mithy to give me the lantern, but we ended up both dying really early on, and Olaf got a kill, and he had like 20 CS lead. So after this first action happened really early on, I was really far behind already, so I was just trying to farming up, basically.
Same actually went for you, Mithy, having a hard time because they did focus you a couple of times early on. And you told me before the game that you were very excited to play because you felt that as support you could really have an influence in these games. How do you think you played it after that to bounce back from that moment?
Okay, so my role this game was to be a lantern bot and to split push. So I did my job well. I didn't need to hit a hook. Basically, if I hook, I'm in danger because I'm standing still when I'm hooking, so I shouldn't even hook. So I played my role well, to answer your question. And in terms of what happened was that they were playing very well around like vision, around darkness, right? And we didn't anticipate what they wanted to do, so they caught us off guard. But I think we counteracted and did some plays too to catch them off guard.
Well, especially that Baron play. Talk me through the call for that. It's a European special, so to say, but still very ballsy to pull off in this situation. Where did the call come from?
It was pretty much everyone started talking about Baron because we expected them to push as like 2 or 3, remember? Like 2 maximum, let's say, like their bot lane or something, so they could stop us at Baron. But they ended up showing like 4 members or some wards that we have in our jungle. So we decided to just TP and go for Baron. And they didn't even push bottom, they just tried to catch us, and in the end they didn't got anything, and we got the Baron.
I think they were, I mean, their game plan was to catch us off around like their priority and so on. So they were playing towards their game plan, but then Nash spawned, and they were kind of getting a bit stressed out with all our split push, because it's pretty annoying to play against. You can't really catch anyone because there's Thresh there to save people and so on. So I guess they just made a really bad decision to try and catch us on bottom when Nash was an option, and we just capitalized on it.
Capitalized on it, kept a cool head. Now #1 in the group, still with that win. What a victory that was. It's almost incredible to believe not just you guys, but a lot of the other LCS teams as well have incredibly stepped up. How are you guys going to specifically preserve this momentum you seem to have, knowing that this is only the group stage, and it's only the first round of the group stage?
To preserve, I'm not sure. We just need to keep the same communication, have ideas in game. Yeah, so sometimes it happens that we are not so talkative. And yeah, as long as we have ideas in game of what to do, and we have a clue of how to get an advantage or something like this, we should keep going.
The way I see it is game by game. We just play one game at a time and take it slow. And right now it's working out for us, so we should just keep doing the same thing.
Definitely. One final thing, the crowd was absolutely crazy already. Did you notice the wave going on? Did that distract you?
I noticed after the bound, but beside the bound, like before and after the game, beside that, I didn't pay so much attention in game.
Okay, but they're pretty crazy. How much is that giving you the strength to fight back even when you were 0-4?
Just top laner are never lucky, you know. So.
Never lucky.
I think, I honestly think it's good for us because I felt at least, I didn't see the wave because I can't really look at the crowd at that point, but I could hear them cheering for us a lot. And I guess, especially when we are ahead and the other team is behind, after being ahead, I guess that tilts them a bit. So I think being in Europe quite helps us a bit.
Well, you heard it, guys. Keep doing what you're doing, you guys. Congratulations, #1 in the group, OG, and I'd love to hear Odess break that down.
Thank you, Shocks. OG, 3-0, undefeated.
Trust is best.
Halfway through the group stage. Calm down there, buddy. That was my favorite game so far.
It was a
tournament.
pretty stellar game.
What a great game.
Now, we spent a lot of time talking about the Pix bans. I don't want to spend too much time talking on it here, but how do you gentlemen feel it played out since we thought there would be a lot of emphasis placed on it?
I feel like in a scenario where both teams have good drafts, usually it comes out even. I don't think the draft was what had the biggest impact in this matchup.
I wasn't a big fan of the blind pick of the Twisted Fate. I would have rather seen an Orianna there when we were talking about it during the draft phase. Now, I think the TF was played very well. I just found that dangerous because giving a counter pick to Nagne, he plays Echo, he plays Fizz, he plays Yasuo. He plays Diana. These are things that could have come out. It ended up that they went with the Echo, which is what I think he would have blind picked anyway, given the Azir ban. But I did think it carried just a little bit of risk.
I mean, with the way Pekka is playing, you could pick Teemo mid, and he was going to just be self-confident. There was so much confidence and just sidestepping cocoons, not even
that was a beautiful play.
It was insane. Him and Niels just had such a massive CS lead, over 100 CS, and combined was maybe like 180 CS total. That's before the base was cracked, which boosts the numbers of CS for KT Rollster because they have to defend the base and obviously get more CS while Origin isn't. So just fantastic play overall by Origin with a lot of confidence.
Well, we talked about fantastic play on both teams, clean execution. Throughout the early game, we saw both teams recognizing openings, presenting themselves to the team, taking advantage of things, using the double TPs on both sides. It was a lot about the trading of leads and trading of cooldowns for kills.
Yeah, and that's what's so great. I mean, when you see this game, you're looking at not only the blow for blow, and just look at the timing on both of those teleports coming in from KT. In terms of using the double TP, we saw this blow for blow action going on that was very exciting and very well executed by both teams. But what I like too is that KT, they were playing for kills, they were playing for picks. We saw Origin playing for pressure, playing for farm. So we got to see how these two different styles were really interacting with each other. And that's really what the best games of League are made of.
The cool thing was it felt almost like a turn-based game in which KT would make a play, and then Origin, then KT again, then Origin, back and forth, but the lead was always in Origin's favor because of the massive CS that they had gotten. Even though Arrow had a lot of kills, Neil still had a huge CS lead. By the time around 32 minutes, I think, Kog'Maw had a Trinity Force, Bork. That's when Sivir had Infinity Edge, Static Shiv, Last Whisper, and Bloodthirster. It doesn't matter what champion you are, you're not going to be able to outcarry with such an item disparity.
I have to add as well, the fact that Xpeke managed to survive so well in a matchup that is bad for him. Like, he basically blind picked the Twisted, as you mentioned, and I feel like the matchup-wise, sure, it's in Echo's favor, but the fact that he managed to have pressure in a lane as Twisted Fate is what kept him in the game, in my opinion, because they were 0-2.
I don't agree with the Twisted Fate being such a bad matchup. Like, with Home Guard's Rush, with Teleport, he's so easy to lane with and just farm safely. Wild cards, red card the wave, it's really easy to actually have good CS, good lane pressure, and always keep the other guy pushed in. It's such a good champion that is hard to punish even if you're an assassin.
And it helps when you play him as well as Xpeke did. Two, I want to point out, Niels, I feel like the two of them are playing tremendously as carries for this team. But now I want to move us ahead to where the even game was won for Origin, the first Baron call that they made.
Well, it really wasn't an even game. Sure, the gold lead was even, but I think what was so great about Origin's call right there was they kind of had to make that because playing around objectives with KT scaling out of control, they had the superior scaling in the late game, and Someday was kind of getting a big lead over SOAS. So I think a bold call like that was necessary to hold them in it. If they didn't do it right then, KT should have probably won that game. But when that Baron call came through, remember, there was a wave at tier 2 in the bottom lane. KT had 4 people in the bottom side jungle. I think they may have been able to take an inhibitor in trade for that Baron, which would have been a better trade for KT. But they decided to run back just like they did against TSM, very similar play. They made it work against TSM. They were a day late and a dollar short against Origin.
I have to add as well the fact that Origin actually spent a lot of time around that area, 3 minutes straight from 20 minutes to 23, clearing wards. I think the play was kind of telegraphed, and sending Kog'Maw to the bottom lane, sure, they might have gotten the inhib, but I think it was a massive blunder to send the Kog'Maw there. I think somebody should have been there, but very well punished by Origin.
Yep. All right, well, with this game closing out Group D for the week, let's take a quick look at the standings. Origin stands undefeated in first place, KT behind them at 2-1, TSM at 1-2, and LGD at 0-3. Gentlemen, this is not the way we expected this group to play out.
It's refreshing.
It's very refreshing. You know, as we look forward, Shox asked them how do they expect to keep this momentum moving into week 2, given that all the teams have a little bit of time to assess each other's power level. Origin specifically, how are we looking at them to remain on their undefeated streak?
Just how Mithy said, keep doing what you're doing. And I think the interesting thing that they should really focus on is not show too much. At this point, with this level of play, they're almost guaranteed to make it out of groups, probably in first place as well. Don't show too much. Make sure that you go into the quarterfinals with a good draft and have a lot of things that you haven't shown yet to just catch your opponent off guard, how they've kept doing it throughout the group.
I'm actually
group stage.
looking forward to see how Origin plays in best of 5 specifically, because they've had these strategies that are good like once, and then you kind of have to figure it out in a way. For example, the Anivia and this Baron play, for example.
Well, they're going strong. We'll see if they can hold on. That's all the action from Group D for today, but it's on to Group B as the LPL's Invictus Gaming goes up against Westor and AHQ Esports Club in our next match. Keep it tuned right here because there's more Worlds 2015 when we return.
KT. Not quite SKT, but they're on the way.
Peekaboo pops his ulti. Mithy caught out of position with Peke. Gonna try and make his way in. Mithy still alive. Now Sunday gonna chase him, but Nagna's here as well.
Oh, Peke's dead. Cocoon connects as well, and Score sinks the fangs in. Amazing. Body slams forwards, yells nope.
Now Peke gonna get vision. He needs to leave. He hits a Cocoon. Gets knocked down, but Nagna! No, he can't chase it.
Boost. Run.
Yes!
That's what you do, actually.
Oh, just caught arrow! What is he doing up there? Nails caught, and that Nails going back in. Gets a crit onto Nagna. What a sign is!
Origin will place first in Group D after taking down KT Rolster.